Welcome to the Seasonal and Part-Time Handbook training. Please follow along. We are excited to welcome you to Sandy City. An exciting and challenging experience awaits you. To answer some of the questions you may have concerning the city and its policies, we have prepared this handbook. Please read through it thoroughly and retain it for future reference. The information in this handbook supersedes any prior handbooks you may have. In the introductory section, we have provided some of the history of Sandy City, as well as a population estimate. Currently, Sandy City provides services that support a community of 93,002 residents. Sandy City's mission is working together to enhance the quality of life in our community. We have the acronym of ASPIRE to show our values: accountability, safety and security, people-focused, integrity, respect, and excellence. Part 2. Employment Policies. Sandy City hires on the basis of the ability to perform a position's essential functions without regard to race, color, religion, sex, pregnancy, childbirth or pregnancy-related conditions, national origin, age, disability, sexual orientation, gender identity, genetics, protected veteran status, or any other class protected by applicable federal, state, and local employment laws. The city expressly prohibits any form of unlawful employee harassment or discrimination based on the preceding factors. Sexual harassment. The city regards sexual harassment as a very serious matter. Sexual harassment is prohibited in the workplace or among the workforce by any person and in any form. This will be covered in more detail in the discrimination and harassment training. Next is the complaint procedure. We will address this at the end of the handbook. Medical examinations. Final applicants for hire in designated positions are required to undergo physical examinations after a conditional offer of employment has been made. These employees may also undergo periodic evaluations. The locations that an employee can go for these medical examinations are listed on the top of page 7. Please be aware that the hours for the Salt Lake workmen have changed. The clinic now closes at 5:30. Employment of relatives. Under certain conditions, Sandy City restricts and in some cases prohibits the hiring and promotion of current employees' relatives to avoid actual or perceived conflicts of interest. The city will exercise sound business judgment in the placement of related employees in accordance with Utah State Code. Personnel files. The city maintains personnel files on each employee. If you are interested in reviewing your file, please visit the Human Resources Office. Termination of employment. If you desire to terminate your employment relationship with Sandy City, you are urged to notify your supervisor and department head in writing at least 2 weeks in advance of your intended termination. Job abandonment. Any employee who is absent from work without giving notification and was capable of giving notification may be disciplined for failure to report to work. Discipline may include, but is not limited to, termination. In rare situations, an employee may be absent from work due to a medical emergency or other unforeseen circumstances which keep the employee from providing timely notification of the absence. In such instances, the employee or the employee's representative should contact the supervisor as soon as possible to explain the situation. Part 3. Compensation Policies. Classification of employment. For purposes of employee recruitment, hiring and separation, salary administration, and eligibility for employee benefits, the city classifies its employees. We have provided a table on page 9 that explains which category of employee receive which benefits. Regular pay procedure. You will normally be paid on a bi-weekly basis, usually on a Friday. If a scheduled payday falls on a city-observed holiday, you will usually be paid on the day preceding the holiday. We have provided a list of holidays through June 2024. Please note the dates that have asterisks indicate that there are 3 paydays in that month. Working hours and breaks. Lunch breaks. Each employee working at least an 8-hour day is entitled to a 1-hour unpaid lunch period. A 30-minute unpaid lunch may be taken with department head approval. Part-time employees working 5 or more hours a day are entitled to at least a 30-minute unpaid lunch period. Rest breaks. Each employee is also entitled to a 15-minute paid break around the midpoint of each 4-hour segment worked. Recording work hours. To ensure that accurate records are kept of the hours you actually work and of the leave time you have taken, all non-exempt employees are required to record time worked and absences on your department's timekeeping records. Please ensure that your actual hours worked and leave time taken are recorded accurately. Failure to accurately record your hours may result in loss of pay for that period and possible discipline up to and including termination. The appropriate number of hours will be transferred to the city's time entry system to ensure that you are paid for the hours you work. On page 11, we have provided a sample pay stub. The boxes in red explain what each section of the pay stub mean. We have also provided a link to our online system. Make sure you log into the system after orientation to ensure that your supervisor can accurately enter your time. If you have any questions, please talk to your supervisor or HR. Adjusted work schedules. In an effort to provide flexibility, reduce expense, and to address concerns that may exist due to extenuating circumstances, Sandy City is supportive of adjusted work schedules, such as condensed work weeks, for example, a 4-10 work schedule, and part-time remote working from home when the duties of the job allow for it, as determined by the department head. Department heads will evaluate requests for an adjusted work schedule in the terms of the effect on the department and the ability to provide high-quality internal and external customer service. Adjusted work schedules are a privilege, not an entitlement, and may be adjusted or canceled at any time by a department head. Overtime pay procedures. Employees are classified as either FLSA non-exempt or FLSA exempt. Those who are FLSA non-exempt are covered by the minimum wage and overtime provisions of the Fair Labor Standards Act, or FLSA. Those who are FLSA exempt are protected from improper or illegal salary deductions. The table on page 13 shows that for general employees, any employee working over 40 hours a week will receive overtime. Condensed work weeks. Any employee interested in a condensed work week schedule should discuss your options with your direct supervisor. Schedules must be conducive with overtime laws and must be compatible with the city's payroll and timekeeping systems. A condensed work week arrangement does not change the terms and conditions of employment with Sandy City and may be adjusted or canceled at any time by a department head. Remote work. Any employee interested in remote working should discuss your options with your direct supervisor. Any employee who remote works will still be required to work in the office or other assigned work site at least 3 days per week. Exceptions under extraordinary circumstances may be made by the department head after consultation with the Human Resources Director. Additionally, with supervisor approval, exceptions to the policy may be made for employees who are ill in order to avoid spreading the illness in the workplace. The employee must have the appropriate equipment, including a telephone, a computer with internet access, a suitable workspace, and any other job-related equipment. Sandy City will not reimburse for personal costs incurred from remote working, but may elect to provide work equipment to assist you in remote working. Similar to expectations for the official worksite, the following standards will also be expected of employees while remote working. If on video calls, dress and computer backgrounds should be professional. While remote working, employees will be required to forward their work phone to their personal phone during working hours to ensure high-quality customer service standards are maintained. The quality of customer service should be seamless. There should be no difference in the quality or timeliness of customer service responses while remote working. The quality and quantity of work performed by the employee must not be negatively impacted by the arrangement. A remote work arrangement does not change the terms and conditions of employment with Sandy City. When remote working, you will be expected to adhere to all applicable laws, rules, and policies regarding information security and maintaining a safe work environment. You will also be expected to follow all city and department policies just as if you were in the workplace, including attendance and overtime policies. You will be compensated appropriately for all time worked, leave, and travel, just as if you were in the workplace. Employees who work remotely may be required to come into the workplace as needed and are expected to be working and available for contact by supervisors during all normal work hours. Employees should work with their supervisors to ensure that all work expectations are being met and that there is regular communication between the employee and supervisor. A remote working arrangement may be adjusted or canceled at any time by a department head. Refer to Operations Manual Policy 2.4.4 for additional information about remote working. Salary programs. Sandy City is committed to maintaining wage ranges which are competitive with other Wasatch Front communities of comparable size. Annually, the Human Resources Office conducts a wage and benefit survey of the relevant communities. Based on the market and classification analysis, the Mayor's Budget Committee will review wage ranges and may recommend changes as appropriate. Part 4. Leave. We have provided a list of holidays that Sandy City observes. City offices will be closed on these days. Please note that holidays that fall on a weekend will be taken on a Friday if the holiday is on Saturday, or Monday if the actual date is Sunday. These holidays are noted with an asterisk. Sandy City follows Utah State Code regarding the observance of Juneteenth National Freedom Day. The Juneteenth National Freedom Day holiday is on June 19th, if that day is on a Monday. If June 19th is on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, the June 19th National Freedom Day holiday is on the immediately preceding Monday. If June 19th is on a Saturday or Sunday, the Juneteenth National Freedom Day holiday is on the immediately following Monday. Sick leave and attendance. Seasonal and part-time non-benefited employees do not receive paid time off. Please immediately notify your supervisor in the event that you are ill on the job or are sick and cannot come to work on a given day. If your absence is due to an emergency, you or a member of your immediate family should inform your supervisor as soon as it is practical. Americans with Disability Act. The Americans with Disability Act, or ADA, and the Americans with Disabilities Amendments Act, or ADAAA, are federal laws that require the city to not discriminate against applicants and employees with disabilities, and, when needed, to provide reasonable accommodations to applicants and employees who are qualified for a job, with or without reasonable accommodations, so that they may perform the essential job duties of the position. It is the policy of Sandy City to comply with all federal and state laws concerning the employment of persons with disabilities, and to act in accordance with regulations and guidance issued by the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, or EEOC. Furthermore, it is the city's policy not to discriminate against qualified individuals with disabilities in regard to application procedures, hiring, advancement, discharge, compensation, training, or other terms, conditions, and privileges of employment. Please contact Human Resources with any questions or requests for accommodation. Pregnant Workers Fairness Act. The Pregnant Workers Fairness Act, or PWFA, is a federal law that requires the city to provide reasonable accommodations to qualified applicants and employees with no limitations related to pregnancy, childbirth, or related medical conditions, unless the accommodation would impose an undue hardship on city business operations. It is the policy of Sandy City to comply with all federal and state laws concerning the employment of pregnant workers, and to act in accordance with regulations and guidance issued by the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. Furthermore, it is the city's policy not to discriminate, retaliate, coerce, intimidate, threaten, or interfere with a pregnant applicant or employee's request or use of an accommodation. Please contact Human Resources with any questions or requests for an accommodation. Family and medical leave. To be eligible for family and medical leave, or FMLA, you must have been a Sandy City employee for 12 months, and you must have worked 1,250 hours for the city in the 12 months prior to the commencement of the leave. Eligible employees are entitled to 12 weeks of unpaid job-protected family and medical leave within the calculated leave year. We've also included information on military caregiver leave, intermittent leave, notice of leave, employer responsibilities, concurrent leave, married couples working for Sandy City, and return from leave. If you are going to take time off for something that would qualify for FMLA, please contact Human Resources ahead of time to get the appropriate paperwork. Additionally, the city may contact the employee to complete FMLA paperwork if an employee is absent for 3 days, or 1 set for sworn fire personnel, and if the city receives additional information suggesting an employee may qualify for FMLA. If an employee is eligible for FMLA and is receiving a workers' compensation lost wage benefit, only the time not compensated by workers' compensation will be counted as FMLA leave. Please contact Human Resources if you have questions. Bereavement leave for miscarriage or stillbirth. In accordance with state law, all Sandy City employees shall be granted 3 paid work days in the event of a miscarriage or stillbirth in the following instances. The employee's pregnancy is ended by way of miscarriage or stillbirth. The employee is the spouse or partner of an individual whose pregnancy is ended by way of miscarriage or stillbirth. The employee is the former spouse or partner of an individual whose pregnancy is ended by way of miscarriage or stillbirth, and the employee would have been a biological parent of a child born as a result of the pregnancy. The employee provides documentation to show that the individual whose pregnancy is ended by way of miscarriage or stillbirth intended for the employee to be the adoptive parent of a child born as a result of the pregnancy. Under a valid gestational agreement, the employee would have been a parent of a child born as a result of the pregnancy. Except as authorized by your department head, the 3 workdays of leave for miscarriage or stillbirth shall be taken consecutively immediately following the end of the pregnancy. For purposes of this section, miscarriage and stillbirth refer to the spontaneous or accidental loss of a fetus, regardless of the gestational age or the duration of the pregnancy. Adoptive parent means adoptive parent as defined by applicable Utah law. And workday refers to the hours you work each day in your normal work schedule. For example, if you work 8 hours a day, you can get 3 8-hour days. If you work 10 hours a day, you get 3 10-hour days. Requests for bereavement leave should be made to your immediate supervisor. The reason for bereavement leave must be indicated when you enter your time for the pay period in which you are using bereavement leave. Jury duty and witness leave. Seasonal and part-time non-benefited employees are given time off without pay while serving jury duty. To qualify for jury duty or witness leave, you must submit to your supervisor a copy of the subpoena to serve as soon as it is received. In addition, proof of service must be submitted to your supervisor when your period of jury or witness duty is completed. Military leaves of absence. Employees who enter the service of a uniformed service of the United States, involuntarily or voluntarily, shall be entitled to be absent from their duties and service from the city without pay as required by federal and state laws. When taking military leave, you are required to provide written or verbal notification to your supervisor and Human Resources as soon as it is practical, preferably by submitting a copy of your military orders. Part 5. Employer Benefits. Eligibility. Seasonal and part-time non-benefited employees are not eligible for medical and dental benefits. Sandy City provides an on-site health clinic as a benefit to city employees. A summary of clinic services is provided on the bottom of page 19. Some services are available via telehealth. The clinic accepts some forms of outside insurance, as well as the following payment methods: HSA card, debit or credit card, or a prepaid card. For additional information about services, accepted insurance providers, or payment, please contact the clinic. Medicare and Social Security. Sandy City participates in the federal Medicare system, but not in the federal Social Security program. All employees hired after March 31st, 1986, are required to participate in Medicare by contributing 1.45% of gross earnings each pay period. The city matches this contribution. Workers' compensation. An injury or significant illness can create a variety of physical, emotional, and financial problems. Sandy City is committed to helping employees who have sustained work-related injuries or illnesses and providing the workers' compensation benefit prescribed by law. All work-related injuries must be reported immediately to your supervisor, and together you must promptly complete the workers' compensation injury report form. If you require medical attention, see one of the city's workers' compensation medical providers, which are identified on page 21, immediately for treatment of your work injury. If you elect to go to another doctor for your first visit, you may be responsible for the difference in cost. Please refer to Risk Management for more information. Retirement plans. Because Sandy City does not participate in the Social Security system, seasonal and part-time non-benefited employees are required to use the 457 account as a retirement plan. Instead of paying into Social Security, Sandy City will contribute 7.5% of a seasonal or part-time non-benefited employee's salary into this plan. Upon termination from Sandy City, the employee can withdraw or transfer the funds from their 457 plan. To withdraw or transfer funds from a 457 plan, employees should contact Mission Square Retirement. 401k plans. All employees are eligible to participate in the Mission Square Retirement 401k plan. Please review the information below carefully and contact Human Resources if you have any questions. Employee Assistance Program. The city recognizes that a wide range of problems such as marital or family distress, alcoholism, and drug abuse, not directly associated with your job function, can nonetheless be detrimental to an employee's performance on the job. Consequently, we believe that it is in the interest of you and the city to provide an effective program to assist employees and their families in resolving problems such as these as the need arises. Sandy City's Employee Assistance Program, or EAP, provides consultation services for referrals to local community treatment sources. Your visits to the EAP are held in confidence. The information you share is between you and the counselor. All employees are welcome to participate in this program regardless of whether or not they participate in any of the city-offered insurance plans or waive city insurance. Contact information for the EAP is on page 25. Part 6. Employee Conduct. As an integral member of the city team, you are expected to accept certain responsibilities, adhere to acceptable business principles in matters of personal conduct, and exhibit a high degree of personal integrity at all times. This not only involves sincere respect for the rights and feelings of others, but also demands that you refrain from any behavior that might be harmful to you, your coworkers, and/or the city, or that might be viewed unfavorably by current or potential customers, or by the public at large. Whether you are on duty or off, your conduct reflects on the city. Consequently, you are encouraged to observe the highest standards of professionalism at all times. It is the responsibility of each employee to comply with these standards, department policies, and the supervisory instructions given to them for performance of their duties. Types of behavior and conduct that the city considers important include, but are not limited to, the following: a duty to act lawfully, a duty of ethical conduct and loyalty to the city, a duty to promote work efficiency and morale, and a duty of service to the general public. Ethics Act and Conflict of Interest. The section heading has been updated to match other policies and state code, and clarify that this section deals with employee ethics and conflicts of interest. The ethical standards of conduct on pages 26 and 27 apply to all elected and appointed officers and all regular, part-time, and seasonal employees. Please review them carefully. As part of a commitment to ethical conduct, Sandy City Human Resources requires employees to participate in annual ethics training. Your duty of loyalty to the city requires you to avoid any conflict with the city's interests. The city cannot articulate every situation which creates or constitutes a conflict of interest. However, in general, a conflict of interest arises in any situation in which you are in a position to derive personal benefit for yourself or others from the actions you take or the decisions you make in your official employment capacity. Your duty of loyalty requires you to act in the interests of the city and not for your own personal gain or the personal interests of others. Additionally, state code requires public employees to disclose potential conflicts of interest, as described in this section. Disclosures are filled out at the time of hire and on an annual basis. Employees should also submit a disclosure at other times if your position in a qualifying business changes or the value of your interest in a qualifying business increases. Information reporting and whistleblowing. Whistleblowing. As a public employee, you have a responsibility to formally inform appropriate administrative officials if you become aware of or reasonably suspect the waste of public funds, property, manpower, or a violation of law relating to your employment. An appropriate administrative official is your immediate supervisor, unless you reasonably believe the supervisor cannot or will not fairly and constructively report the problem. If that is the case, you may report the incident to the mayor, chief administrative officer, department heads, division heads, human resources director, city attorney, or you may notify the state auditor. Improper disclosure and spreading of rumors. You are responsible for refraining from spreading information which is hostile to city operations or other employees which you know, or have reason to know is malicious, false, or frivolous. You are not to disclose or induce others to disclose confidential information acquired due to your position. You are not allowed to use confidential information for your gain, benefit, or purposes. Assisting in investigations. You have a duty to participate in an investigation, hearing, inquiry, or other form of administrative review by the city arising from a report of the existence of any waste of public funds, property, manpower, or violation of law as may be requested by city officials. Outside employment. Some types of outside employment may create a conflict of interest with your city job or interfere with your performance in your city position. If you wish to take a second job, you should discuss it with your supervisor. Employment references. Except for law enforcement background checks and personal references as defined below, all employment references shall be directed to department heads, human resources director, or their designee. Only department heads, human resources director, or their designee is authorized to provide an employment reference for past or current city employees. All law enforcement background checks shall be directed to the Sandy City Police Chief or their designee. Only the Sandy City Police Chief or their designee is authorized to provide this background information specified in Utah Code. Information released by the Chief or their designee shall be limited to the background information specified in Utah Code. Any unauthorized employee providing reference or background information on behalf of the city or the Chief in the case of a background check pursuant to Utah Code is subject to disciplinary action up to and including termination. If you have knowledge of a past or current city employee applying for employment at another entity and are asked by an employee of that entity about the employee, even in a casual conversation, you cannot share any information. The city is not responsible for the contents of any employment reference or background information provided by any unauthorized person. Personal references means an employment reference provided in response to an express request by another past or current employee. A personal reference must disclose to the recipient that the reference is not provided on behalf of the city or Sandy City Police Department in the case of a background check. The city is not responsible for the contents of any personal reference. Distribution of literature. In the interest of maintaining a proper business environment and preventing interference with work and inconvenience to others, distribution of literature or printed materials of any kind and selling merchandise during work time is restricted. An employee must receive permission from their department director to place literature in designated areas within the department. Do not place personal solicitations, information, or announcements on the network computer system. Non-employees are likewise prohibited from distributing material or soliciting employees on city premises at any time. Computer and network use. In order to protect and secure the IT system, all employees must adhere to the rules listed on page 29 at all times. Questions regarding this policy and how it impacts your position should be directed to your supervisor or the IT division. Internet use. Use of the internet is not private and may be monitored for compliance with this policy. Questions regarding the use of the internet should be directed to your supervisor or the IT division. Workplace violence. Sandy City is committed to preventing workplace violence and to maintaining a safe work environment for employees, vendors, and the visiting public. Therefore, the city prohibits violent behavior. Prohibited conduct includes, but is not limited to, unlawful violent acts, fighting, stalking, harassment, intimidation, abusive language, or other similar violent conduct. The city does not tolerate any of the aforementioned conduct, unlawful threats of violence, or actual violence in any form. An employee who believes that they have been subjected to or threatened with violence by a coworker, supervisor, customer, or any other person in the workplace, or is aware of another individual who has been subjected to or threatened with violence in the workplace, can report this information following the complaint resolution procedure. Employee gun use. Some employees wish to carry a gun for personal protection. If an employee does so, they must understand the following. State law restricts some individuals from carrying a gun in certain government locations, specifically the Justice Court and Police Department. Additionally, with regard to using a gun, police officers, prosecutors, judges, the Justice Court Administrator, SWAT medics, and authorized fire investigators who have received firearms training satisfactory to the Chief of Police are the only city employees authorized to use deadly force while acting for and in behalf of Sandy City. Under no circumstances will any other employee use deadly force as a function of their job within the city, and if such employee uses deadly force, they will not have the immunities or be entitled to the indemnity afforded trained employees in the authorized positions above. Tobacco use. In order to maintain a safe and comfortable working environment, tobacco and e-cigarette usage in the city offices, facilities, and vehicles is prohibited. Because the city may be subject to criminal and civil penalties for violations of applicable smoking laws, the city must insist on strict adherence to this policy. Employees smoking in any non-smoking area may be subject to disciplinary action. Drug-free workspace. It is the policy of the city to create a drug-free workspace in keeping with the spirit and intent of the local government entity Drug-Free Workplace. Utah Code Title 34, Chapter 41. The misuse of controlled substances or alcohol is inconsistent with the behavior expected of employees, subjects all employees and visitors at our facilities to unacceptable safety risks, and undermines the city's ability to operate effectively and efficiently. Sandy City requires drug testing for the following reasons: when a conditional offer of employment is made, when an employee is promoted to a new position, when there is reasonable suspicion of drug and/or alcohol use, after an accident when your vehicle is in motion or your equipment is in operation unless testing is waived by your department head. Sandy City will also perform random testing for individuals who have a CDL in accordance with FMCSA requirements. Sandy City will also perform random testing for individuals not required to have a CDL who perform safety-sensitive duties for the city, such as police, fire, employees who have responsibility for the supervision of minor children, and employees with access to controlled substances. Employees are required to inform their supervisors anytime they are taking prescription or over-the-counter drugs which could impair their ability to safely perform assigned duties. Employees shall not report to work under the influence of alcohol or drugs. If you are arrested or convicted for a violation of a drug or alcohol offense, you must notify the city in writing within 5 days of the arrest or conviction. See pages 31 through 33 for additional conduct requirements relating to drugs and alcohol. As a reminder, you are not to use alcohol or be under the influence of alcohol within 4 hours before reporting to work. Please remember that you are not to manufacture, distribute, dispense, possess, or use controlled substances or alcohol in the workplace, or while engaged in city business off the city premises. In addition, if you are arrested or convicted of a controlled substance or alcohol-related violation, You must inform your department head no later than 5 calendar days after such conviction or arrest. Workplace searches. In order to safeguard the property of our employees, our customers, and the city, and to help prevent the possession, use, and sale of illegal drugs on city premises, the city reserves the right to question employees and all other persons entering and leaving our premises, and to inspect any packages, parcels, purses, handbags, briefcases, lunchboxes, or any other possessions or articles carried to and from the city's property. Safety and health. Sandy City is committed to providing a safe and healthy working environment. The city makes every effort to comply with the relevant federal and state occupational health and safety laws, and to develop the best feasible operations, procedures, technologies, and programs conducive to such an environment. You are expected, as a part of the comprehensive safety and loss prevention program, to place safe work practices and identification of unsafe conditions in highest priority while performing your daily tasks. Your safety commitment must include, but is not limited to, the following: using the safety equipment which has been provided in performing your daily work assignments, wearing the prescribed uniform and safety shoes as required, not operating equipment or using tools for which training or orientation has not been received, not operating any vehicle or other equipment in an impaired state, warning coworkers of unsafe conditions or practices they are engaged in which could lead to or cause an accident. Report defective equipment immediately to a supervisor. Reporting all injuries and accidents regardless of severity. In addition, in the event of an emergency at any city facility, please dial 911. Hazardous condition reporting. As a city employee, city administration asks that you make it a practice to be aware of potentially dangerous situations you see throughout the city, whether you are on or off duty. Unsafe conditions may result from city work that could present a hazard to the public. If you discover dangerous situations around the city, please do what you can to secure the situation and report the problem to Public Works, Public Utilities, or the police department immediately. Injury and accident reporting. All work-related accidents must be reported immediately to your supervisor. Traffic accidents resulting in damages of $2,500 or more must be reported to law enforcement. Your supervisor will let you know if drug and/or alcohol testing is required. Also, make sure to submit appropriate forms and paperwork to the Risk Management Office. See the Workers' Compensation section on pages 20 and 21 for the process to report work-related injuries. City vehicle use. If you drive a city vehicle, you must have a valid Utah driver's license and a good driving record. You are responsible for checking the fluid levels and overall condition of the vehicle on a daily basis. If there is anything requiring repair, you are to take the vehicle to the fleet shop at the Public Works facility, unless it is unsafe to do so, in which case you should call fleet. Employees driving a city-owned vehicle are also expected to adhere to the city's vehicle idling policy. In addition, you shall not operate or allow any employee to operate any vehicle in an impaired state. If you ever have a question about operation of a city vehicle, talk to your supervisor. Personal vehicle use. If you drive on city business, you must have a valid Utah driver's license and a good driving record. Mileage reimbursement. For employees not on a vehicle allowance, you will be reimbursed at the current IRS authorized rate. Your department or division head must authorize personal vehicle travel in advance. It is your responsibility to accurately complete city mileage reports and submit them to your department or division head. Safety belt use. All vehicle occupants must use available safety belts and shoulder restraints at all times while traveling on city business in any vehicle being used for conducting city business. It is your responsibility to ensure that your safety belt system is maintained so that they are clean, easily accessible, and in good working order. All employees are encouraged to wear safety belts at all times. Cell phone use. As a Sandy City employee, you may be eligible for government employee discounts with your cellular service. Contact your cell phone provider to see if they participate in giving a government discount. Supervisor and subordinate relationships. Sandy City does not permit romantic relationships or dating between supervisors and subordinates. For purposes of this policy, A supervisor includes any supervisor within the same line of authority as the subordinate, or any person charged with evaluating the subordinate. If such a relationship develops, the supervisor involved is responsible to immediately disclose the existence of the relationship in writing to their supervisor and department head. Complaint resolution procedure. Misunderstandings or conflicts can arise in any organization. To ensure effective working relations, it is important that such matters be resolved before serious problems develop. Most incidents resolve themselves naturally. However, should a situation persist that you believe is detrimental to you or the city, you should follow the procedure described here for bringing your complaint to the management's attention. Step 1. Discussion of the problem with your immediate supervisor is encouraged as a first step. If, however, you don't believe that a discussion with your supervisor is appropriate, you may proceed directly to Step 2. Step 2. If your problem is not resolved after discussion with your supervisor, or if you feel discussion with your supervisor is inappropriate, you are encouraged to request a meeting with your department head. In an effort to resolve the problem, the department head will consider the facts, conduct an investigation, and may also review the matter with a member of Human Resources. You will normally receive a response regarding your problem within 10 calendar days of meeting with your department head. If you have a claim of discrimination involving a protected class such as race, color, religion, sex, pregnancy, childbirth or pregnancy-related conditions, national origin, age, disability, sexual orientation, gender identity, genetics, protected veteran status, retaliation, harassment, workplace violence, or other unlawful treatment, you should report it immediately to a division head, department head, the city attorney, human resources director, assistant human resources director, human resources analyst, chief administrative officer, or mayor. The city does not tolerate any form of retaliation against employees availing themselves of this procedure. Contact your supervisor or human resources for more details and information on this process. Finally, we have the appendix with the city vehicle use authorization form. Please talk to your supervisor if this applies to you. This concludes the Sandy City Seasonal Employee Handbook training. If you have any questions, please contact the Human Resources Office. Thank you.